Well, good morning, RVers and future RVers. So, in the last video, we talked about what kind of RV should you get. We talked about travel trailers, we talked about fifth wheels, we talked about Class Bs, Class Cs, and Class As. One thing we did not talk about was a pop-up camper. Pop-up campers get towed behind your vehicle from the bumper, similar to how a travel trailer is towed, but they're usually a bit smaller. Some pop-up campers have air conditioning systems, most probably do not. Some have very small refrigerators and even smaller freezer compartments inside. Uh, most do not have a toilet, but you can find some with things like composting toilets, or some may come with them. Some have slides, or fold-outs, not necessarily a slide, where you can have a queen bed on either end of the camper that folds out. You can have a slide that comes out for like the dining area, and usually the upper half of those pop-up campers are a tent-like material, so you could look at those as well. They're usually a lot less expensive and a lot lighter weight. So do you want to camp in the summer? Do you want to camp in the winter? Do you camp in the spring and the fall? Are you going to be out on the road the entire time? All of that goes into considerations for what kind of RV might you want. If you're going to camp in the winter in cold areas, you need holding tanks that don't freeze, so you'll need some kind of either heating pad or an enclosed area that keeps those tanks warm when you have the furnace running to keep the living space warm. You may also, we talked briefly about refrigerator freezer size. Like, do you just need a small hotel motel sized refrigerator for a weekend camping trip? Or if you're going to be out on the road full-timing, boondocking 2 weeks at a time in, say, BLM land, do you want a large refrigerator freezer, double door? Like in this RV, we have a double door residential refrigerator freezer. In the Class C we had, it was just a normal 2-door refrigerator freezer RV refrigerator, and it worked fine. We lived full-time in that RV for 8 months, and we never starved. The refrigerator had plenty of room to hold all of the food and items that we needed in a refrigerator, and the freezer was large enough to hold all of the things that we needed and wanted in a freezer. So the refrigerator that we have now in this Class A is a lot larger than the one we had in our Class C or our travel trailers, and in fact it's probably larger than the refrigerator freezer we have in our house. So larger than we need. You need to consider, are you going to run your items mostly off of propane, or are you going to run it off of electric, or are you going to run it off of both? So again, going to the refrigerator example, the Class C and travel trailers that we had, those refrigerator freezers would run off of either propane or electric, right? You could set it so that it first looks for an electric source. If it finds it, it runs off of electricity. So like when you're plugged in a campground, use electricity. If it doesn't find an electrical source, it looks for the propane. And if you've got your propane tanks turned on, it'll use the propane to keep the refrigerator freezer cold. Another kitchen item that you may want to consider: do you need an oven? None of our first travel trailer and our Class C did not have an oven. The travel trailer that I have now and this Class A that we just got, they do have ovens. Now, we've never used the ovens. We don't miss not having an oven. The space under the stove in the Class C, for example, is a large storage compartment. Things like Instapots, coffee pots, dish racks, dishes, all kinds of other things can go in that storage compartment where the oven is not. So we actually look at having an oven as a drawback, but as I said before, there's probably no perfect RV, and so this RV had a lot of what we wanted and a couple things that we didn't. Like the oven. We don't need the oven. We'd rather have the storage space, but we can work with it. Same thing, we were looking for a king size bed. This RV has a queen size bed. All of our RVs have had queen size beds. We wanted a king size. They make RVs that have bunks, that have overhead cab bunks that drop down, that do have king size beds. But we looked at a couple of them and they just either seemed too expensive or not well enough built. So when I say there's no perfect RV, I'm including in that considerations of things like price, right? You can get a lot of stuff for a lot more money, but that's money that we weren't willing to spend. So we have a queen size bed, that'll work. It's worked in all the other RVs that we've had. It'll work in this one too. Other kitchen ideas, like, do you need one large, deep, farm-like sink? Or do you need a sink that's divided into two large, deep compartments? Or do you want a sink that has one large, deep compartment and one that has a smaller, shallower sink, right? Those are things to look at. There's a lot of considerations. What kind of flooring do you want? Do you want carpeting? Do you want not carpeted? Do you want partial carpeting? Me personally, I like the idea of carpeting because it keeps my feet from contacting the cold wooden floor. My wife, on the other hand, does not like the carpeting. So we've had carpet in our first travel trailer and carpet in our Class C. The current travel trailer that we have, no carpet. The current Class A that we just upgraded to has a little bit of carpet. Like, there's carpet under the dining table. There's a little strip of carpet back in the bedroom, and there's a little bit of carpeting up front in the driver's cab area. But the majority of the living space in the RV is not carpeted. On the outside, are you going to want to tow something? Are you going to want to tow a boat or tow a trailer with your off-season clothes in them, right? You need to look at the towing capacity of the RV that you're going to get or the truck that you're going to get, and make sure that what you want to tow can be towed by what you're getting. You have to look at the hitch weight, the total towing weight, things like that. You don't want to exceed the towing capacity of whatever vehicle you're using to do the towing with. So there's a lot of considerations. How many people are you going to need to sleep? This RV can easily sleep 7 people, but there's only 6 seat belts. So where does that 7th person go? I don't know. Maybe you invite them in from the campfire and they need a place to stay at the RV campground, right? 6 seat belts, sleeping for 7. Doesn't make sense. Now, we'll probably never sleep 6 people in here. We'll probably do at most 4, and I could see potentially doing 6 people sleeping in here. Another thing you need to think about is, we talked about your pets. Where does the cat box go? Do you have room for that? We would also talk about bathrooms. Some RVs can come with 2 full baths. Some RVs come with a bath and a half, where the half bath is in the center area of the RV, close to the living space, usually across from bunks that the RV would have, and then a full bath at the very back behind, the main bedroom. So how many bathrooms do you want? For storage underneath or outside, are you looking to just put in chalk blocks, leveling blocks, maybe a small tool bag, or do you want to have all of that plus an outdoor stove, plus camping chairs, plus do you want to try to put in a small kayak or paddle boards or paddles for your kayaks and paddle boards, right? All of that goes into storage consideration. And then if you plan on camping, say, in colder weather where it might freeze, you are going to need some kind of system to keep your water and your holding tanks from freezing. So do you have heating pads? Do you have enclosed compartments? Is it 4 seasons rated? All of these are considerations. Now, if you're just going to be camping, say, in the desert in the summer, you probably don't need to worry about tanks that may or may not freeze. They probably won't freeze if it's never dropping below 32 degrees Fahrenheit where you're going to do your camping. So all those considerations, and like I said in the first video, uh, there's probably no perfect RV. The the good way to get started figuring out what you need and what you want is to go out and do it. And I would say rent. Rent for a weekend. Rent over the 4th of July holiday. Rent what you think you want and see if it works for you. See if there's enough room. It may seem expensive to just rent some kind of RV for a weekend camping trip, but I guarantee you it will cost you a lot less to rent that than to go buy something and have those payments or that expense only to find out it was too small, it didn't have enough bunk space, you do want an oven, you don't want an oven, right? It'll cost a lot more to go buy an RV and find out that it's not right for you than it would to rent the RV and find out it's not right for you, right? And then you can make notes of what you did like, what you didn't like, what you need, what you want, and you can go from there. That way you make your first purchase, whether it's a new RV or a used RV, that first purchase is a lot closer to what you actually want, need, and will use. So those are just some more considerations on what kind of RV should you get. And we look forward to seeing you out in the campgrounds, on the BLM lands, or maybe even in a truck stop. All right, we'll talk with you guys later. Bye.